Hi, I'm Joseph Huberman, Vice President for Club Services, and I'd like to welcome you to the OUSA Monthly Forum. Tori Campbell will lead this forum on the OUSA coaching program. During the presentation, you can put questions in the chat. After the presentation, we will have time for you to ask questions. So if you want to speak, please raise your hand and keep your microphone off until you're called on. This program is being recorded. If you don't want to be recorded, please turn off your camera and mic or leave the meeting. The presentation will have some slides with a bit of detail, so you should change the following settings in Meet so you can see as much detail as possible. To do that, click the three dots at the bottom. Select Layout and change it to Spotlight. Then select the three dots again and choose Full Screen. Also, you should hide the messages until you actually need them, and that will make the presentation significantly larger. Tori, I'd like to turn the meeting over to you now.
Awesome. Thank you, Joseph. Hi, everyone. My name is Tori Campbell. I'm the first vice president for Orienteering USA, and I'm deeply involved in our coaching education program. And there will be a little more about that later. But I just want to say thank you, first of all, for joining in tonight. This is my second presentation at an OUSAO forum, the first having been the Introduction to the Youth Development Program, or the YDP. But tonight we're going to focus mostly on the evolution of the hybrid Level 1+ coaching certification course and how OUSA's older youth and those supporting them are using this process to grow our coaching capacity nationwide. Along the way, I hope you'll find some inspiration for how this resource might benefit orienteers of all ages in your community. So historically, the OUSA Level 1 coaching certification course has been an in-person Friday evening to Sunday afternoon event. In its early years, about 7 instructors trained a lot of coaches, as you can see from the chart. But there have been fewer opportunities in recent years. And that's also coincided with some major changes at the OUSA level. So in December 2019, OUSA's Youth Development Working Group introduced a new framework to guide the development of orienteers over their lifetimes. This model, called the Orienteering Development Model, was inspired by the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee's American Development Model. After its creation, our focus shifted to spreading awareness, especially among our coaches that were already certified, to ensure that our model was put into practice. And it just so happens that at the time I was in grad school for education and I needed a project for a course I was taking on learning design and instructional technology. You can guess what I chose. So for my class, I defined the problem to be solved in several ways. First of all, one that was ODM specific. Our working group had identified that we needed to gain buy-in into the idea that stage 1, that first encounter with the sport, should be flexible, engaging, and fun. It doesn't have to look like a national ranking event level competition all the time. And then big picture, we also needed to consider several audiences with respect to coaching certification overall. First of all, our learners needed easy access to a quality, recognized coaching program. At the OUSA level, we needed coaches trained to a common standard of coaching, sport, and safety, who viewed themselves as part of a coaching community. And so what that meant was that our coaching instructors needed to build on our existing curriculum to include opportunities for higher level, more social learning. I was also thinking about the limitations of trying to grow coaches through weekend clinics, which also tend to be centered around where the coaching instructors lived or where a group of students were willing to meet. And I was also thinking about examples from grad school of how online resources can bring people together to collaborate regardless of location. And then COVID hit, and those in-person certifications became impossible. However, this also made the needs and the opportunities even more evident. And so as I began creating content for my class, it became apparent that we had access online to far more than our existing course materials. For example, we could link videos and websites to the lessons from Discovering Orienteering, which is our course text. Additionally, Learning and teaching through video calls, especially during my final months of grad school, which was taught remotely, made me realize that technology could be a powerful tool for bringing coaches together. Through video calls, we could collaborate to solve practical coaching problems and share experiences. And this approach not only allowed us to continue learning to coach beginners up through ODM Stage 3, which is the main focus of our Level 1 certification, but it also opened up new possibilities for coaches already working with Stage 4 elites at national and international levels, the focus of our Level 2 and Level 3 recognized coaches, respectively. So as you can see, that initial problem statement really evolved across the spring semester of 2020. Having just taken over as the VP for Youth Initiatives at the time, I was also thinking about youth coaching, and also that perhaps we could strengthen our sense of community across OUSA in the process. So the summer of 2019, I presented updated course content and a hybrid coaching course proposal to the OUSA board for approval. The traditional coaching certification course remains unchanged, but the hybrid version offered another path to certification designed to be accessible to everyone, from a new orienteer, like say a brand new PE teacher, to someone who'd been coaching for years and could test out of some of the basic knowledge. Although I envisioned Module 1 as being self-paced, I've since realized that online learning really isn't for everyone. Some students have found it more effective to work through the online modules together during a video call, watching the content and talking about it together. It takes longer that way, but it also allows students to learn from each other and to build some of those relationships that strengthen the Module 2 discussions. For Module 2, then, we meet on Google Meet. Students either select from a library of fictitious orienteers profiles representing all ages and all disciplines, or they bring data about orienteers they are currently coaching. Each session begins with a small group discussion about the day's topic, and then we select scenarios, we workshop solutions using the profiles of our orienteers, we share our ideas, and we provide each other with feedback. This is hands down my favorite part of the coaching course, and we have had some amazingly rich conversations during these sessions. And so this is where that 1+ title comes from. While modules 1 and 3 are included in the traditional course along with the general discussion of designing a training session and a training plan, it's the hybrid module 2 workshops that allow experienced coaches to work on specific orienteers they're actually coaching and discuss the differences that come from teaching skills, technique, and processes to orienteers who are in different ODM stages of development. So Module 2 could happen as a weekend clinic, either in person or online, but I will also say that the pacing feels better in 4 virtual meetings of about 90 minutes to 2 hours. And then, as with the traditional course, Module 3 involves planning, going out and conducting a coaching session, and then reflecting on what went well and what we could do differently in the future. So our first hybrid model cohort was 5 students. We had 2 NJROTC coaches, including Carl Briscoe, who will hopefully get to share some thoughts later, and our former VP Youth and ODM collaborator, Barb Bryant. And we had a brand new orienteer who just happened to find the course announcement online, and then an elite orienteer from Egypt who met Angelica Riley at WAC, found our coaching course most accessible to his needs, and joined our group. It was pretty diverse. And then in 2021, things got more complicated. First, at the OUSA level, we discontinued the junior national team coaching concept, which had been struggling for several years to sustain a full-time coaching program. The challenges included the logistics of time and distance, and I think many of those brave souls who had taken on the role had some really high expectations for what they wanted to accomplish, and they found the reality of the task to be too big for 1 or even 2 people to manage. Additionally, OUSA didn't have the funding to maintain full-time coaching at a level that would make it more sustainable. And so this suggested we needed more coaches at the regional and club level. But, well, you remember that graph. Our problem statement had just become more urgent because we had young people who needed coaching and shrinking resources with which to meet that need. And then in 2022, OUSA restructured the national team to include junior elites, which meant we needed to dig deeper in revisioning the future of youth development overall. So as a quick sidebar here, I mentioned that I'd presented about the youth development program at the September O Forum. I hope you go watch that video if you haven't seen it, but in short, it includes all young people who love orienteering, whether they envision themselves as future national team members or not. And so for major events, we do online course reviews. And for longer festivals, we try to have someone available to help out with coaching and connecting with other young orienteers. While I thought that might be led by our existing base of coaches, it has been incredibly excited to see our college students and our young professionals become the leaders stepping into these roles, with those of us in the master's categories supporting more from behind the scenes. But we also needed to equip our young leaders with the skills to lead. And so part of facilitating this transformation involved circling back to the coaching course and inviting our college graduates to complete the certification. And then we expanded to invite all of our YDP orienteers who are 16 years and older to compete and who compete on advanced courses to participate in the coaching course. And we've had about a dozen join in. Not everyone has completed their coaching certification, but the discussions we've had along the way are fueling our online course reviews after major events and the event-based coaching that's taking place both for national team junior squad members as well as YDP members. And the best thing about a hybrid course, it'll be there if and when you want to come back and complete it. So we are building capacity. Slowly, perhaps. The hybrid course requires a lot more commitment than just signing up for and showing up for a weekend course, but also with increased quality in our recognized level 1 and level 2 coaches, with several working on gaining the experiences necessary for level 3 recognition. So speaking of which, it can be really confusing to understand the terminology when we talk about our coaches. So certification, which is shown here in the chart on blue, means that someone has completed that weekend or hybrid course and has the knowledge to function as an orienteering coach. Recognition means somebody has been coaching for at least a year. They have contributed to the community in certain ways, and they have coached athletes to perform at a certain level. Recognized coaches are listed on the OUSA website once their applications are approved, as long as they keep their OUSA membership and their Safe Sport certifications up to date. Level 1 recognition is for coaching orienteers to complete an intermediate or advanced course successfully at the local level. Level 2 recognition is for coaches who've completed certification and have brought someone to meet certain standards at a national ranking event or championship level. And level 3 recognition involves success in coaching orienteers competing at international championships, as well as contributing significantly to our coaching community. That last application is really a portfolio of work, and I am excited that we have several of our level 2 coaches chipping away at it. Finally, coaching instructors are recognized level 2 coaches who have assisted a primary instructor in delivering a weekend or hybrid coaching course. So, what have we heard in response to this new format? Well, theory provides a useful framework, and that's something I've heard from a number of orienteers who are thinking about themselves as elites and future elites. Taking a coaching course makes you step back and think about the why of what we do and how it all comes together. One benefit of a hybrid course is that we can take it in small chunks. For those who've taken the weekend intensive course, it can be a lot. Education theory would also tell us that breaking our learning into several small chunks and sleeping in between those nights really makes it more effective. For those who are comfortable navigating the website, there is a lot to go back and revisit. The mix of readings, videos, and activities also helps with different learning styles, both for coaches and for the people that they're coaching. The discussion boards are working really well. They're actually better than I've seen in some learning communities. And I'm particularly impressed by the ones for the Module 2 courses, such as the Orienteering Development Model and the Fundamentals of Technical Training, which are open to all OUSA members because there are interesting ideas there from beyond just the group of students enrolled in the coaching course. Seeing this last point makes me think about the desire to grow our community across the miles. You can definitely see that people are responding to these opportunities here. We've also received some good feedback about how to make the course better. For our current coaches, even if it's just for a session, it means a lot when you drop in and join the conversation, and I will keep sending you invitations. Scheduling can be a challenge. We're trying out a new app that has some more flexibility in finding our meeting times. But also, the more people who participate and become certified to instruct, the more flexible this becomes. The quizzes can be tricky. We've tried to give page references for the ones that trip people up the most. And then some really great thoughts on content. I love seeing this from one of our first coaches certified through the hybrid method, because clearly this is a coach who's kept up with what's going on in OUSA, sees the value that LiveLox brings to youth orienteers, and wants to continue to help us integrate this into our curriculum. Map studies, another great practice. And again, here we have an experienced coach describing the transition from learning and coaching how to coach theory to actual practice and where there are more resources that would help with that. Another great practice, circling back to that first bullet point, these are the types of suggestions that you see come up in Module 2 when we're having conversations. And it leads to some really great examples of how actual coaches are addressing opportunities that they see in the field. So when we asked everyone who'd participated in the course what we should be sharing with you, what you should know about the course, we got some interesting feedback. And for this first point, I'm going to caveat that if you've used a learning management system like Blackboard or Canvas or Google Classroom in a school or university in the past 20 years, or if you're comfortable finding information online, you should be able to figure this out. But if just the thought of registering for Safe Sport makes you blanch, an in-person session might be a better option, or scheduling a time with one of the instructors to give you an online tour. It feels really good to see that the ODM module has landed well, and there's a great message here. The ODM is something that we can all use at all levels. Learning how to coach may improve your own practice. I feel like we should put a warning label on the course. This could be good for you. And for these other key points, you're probably getting the idea by now. A major strength of this program is the interactions and the conversations that are taking place. So why is it better to have this coaching certification than not? Well, we've got the opportunity for different perspectives on coaching. It helps if you're teaching young orienteers that are hoping to go to NRAs or international events because it focuses on that overarching OUSA national model. You've seen some of the recent discussions on ClubNet about YDP, including needing access to more coaches for people interested in being the field with youth. I think you get the point. So now I really want to turn this over to some of our coaches to talk about how they're applying what they've learned. So I know I saw Caroline earlier. So Caroline, do you want to jump in and take the lead for a bit?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Hi, everybody. My name is Caroline Sandbo. I'm a member of Cascade Orienteering Club in Seattle, Washington. So I have known that I wanted to be coach since I was 18, and I was a young elite athlete myself. And Andrea and Tori both encouraged me to take this course. And since then, having my certification has helped me build my skill set and my credibility because I'm quite young to be coaching other young people. So it's nice to have a piece of paper that says, well, I have this experience and I have this education. So at the moment, I don't coach any one team year round, but rather I provide coaching to several different groups throughout the year, including our US JWalk team. JWalk is the Junior World Orienteering Championships. Different groups of youth at national events like NAOC, and we have the Western States Champs coming up. I'm hoping to do some sort of coaching at that event. And anyone here at home in Washington that comes to Cascade's Winter Interscholastic Orienteering League events. So these are the two ways that I use my certification, at home and abroad. So around here, I create training plans for people at all levels of orienteering. This is an example of one that I did for a friend a few years ago who was training up for JWalk. I put on training clinics to help target individual skills. So that's things like compass use or sprint orienteering. And I serve as a resource to club members, coaches, families on how to develop athletic ability and connect with other orienteers. And then as a coach for OUSA, my focus is on juniors performing at an elite level. So I've had the honor of coaching the US team at JWalk 3 of the last 4 years. I give a lot of individual advice and support to the athletes during these competitions. So that's things like wrapping sprained ankles, helping do mental prep for a big race, calming nerves, and giving navigational expertise. And something I'm beginning to do is lead training camps to build confidence in navigation, especially in new terrains. So the way that I use my coaching certification looks different in these two settings, but it's very relevant to both. Thank you.
Awesome. So looking at our group, it looks like Mike didn't get a chance to join us, but Mike Bruns is in the Portland area with Columbia River Orienteering Club. And it was really great to have him join us because he's working with really young children. And so what was exciting about the cohort that he joined was we had a number of YDP members ranging in age from, I think we might have actually had somebody who was 14 or 15, all the way up to some of our 20-year-olds. But really being able to talk about, like, what is it like to be learning orienteering as a little kid, and especially those who've got parents who are involved in orienteering, and back to that initial experience doesn't have to look like an NRE. Teaching parents to be comfortable that sometimes you have to stop and throw rocks in a body of water for a while before you continue on the course, like that could be a thing. But Mike sent a note and he said, "One thing I didn't expect in our program last spring is how much some of the kids got excited doing navigation activities that we were setting up for them. Many of them worked hard and they let you know they were enjoying it. About half the kids began participating in our local club orienteering meets. This was very rewarding for me. This year, we are expanding the age range to include some stage 2 activities." So he's really excited about where that's going, but it's just been neat to hear his enthusiasm and his continued engagement with the rest of the group as we talk through ideas. So is there anybody else in our audience who's been a part of this that wants to jump in with some of their thoughts? All right, so hearing crickets then, I think we're ready to turn this over to questions and comments. And just to give you some context of what you're looking at in this picture here, you see a couple of the really big picture from the relay. That was a coached group, so national team members, youth development program members, some members that we hijacked because they were Americans who happened to be at North American Orienteering Champs, told them that they should now apply for YDP and get involved. And so that was super. You've got a YDP gathering at, I think, Junior Nationals is the next one down. And the one on the bottom was, I want to say maybe a spring event recently. And then over on the left, you can see some of the prep work that we did for an online course review. So we picked out some individual legs. We had everybody draw their routes in. And then when we came together, it was really easy to discuss. But yeah, with that, I will turn this over to the group and see who's got some questions that we can answer. And if you don't ask me questions, I'm going to force you to look at the website. So go for questions.
Tori, on the level 2 videos that you use, how many people were participating in that? Or the online programs, how many people were participating in that?
Oh gosh, we have had, well, so I can go back through the cohorts that we were doing. We have had other groups use this. We've had some JROTC groups. Yeah, I think this page has it. Yep. So down there at the bottom, you can see the 3 formal cohorts that we've run through, and they've been fairly small. We have had people, we had a JROTC group use the Fundamentals of Technical Training module in particular to prepare their cadets for just for learning orienteering. So it's also one of those things where you have these online resources that are designed with a coaching perspective, but they're pieces that can be useful to different subgroups. And then right now we've got, we actually have an orienteer in Israel, and he is very much looking for some partners to have conversations in Module 2. We're having some challenges scheduling that, but he's willing to stay up pretty late so we can manage, something that ends up being like, I guess, noonish in Cascade Land and maybe early afternoon on the East Coast. But I'm hoping to get another group going here really this winter, because once it hits March and we get back into orienteering and scouting season, my weekend availability disappears pretty quickly. I'm going to toss in the chat the sign up that we're using, and if people are interested, that might be a way. It'll give me your name in there. It won't necessarily give me your email, so you probably have to send me an email as well. But if this looks like something that you might want to start, and again, I'll mention one of the benefits of doing the hybrid method is that you can get started on it and you can pause. And the next year when we wrap back around, we can pull you back in. We did manage to finish some people up over the summer as well, because a bunch of us were in the same place for NAOC. So I cornered a few people who were almost done and made them finish. But yeah, this tends to be kind of a winter occurrence.
I had a question. I noticed that there was on the website, it said there's a cost associated with level 1.
Yep. So the coaching course, if somebody just signed up for it, I think it has $100 fee on it. For people who are coaching through YDP, we will waive that fee. So if you sign up to be part of YDP, we will put you to work. But yeah, that fee goes back to help pay for supporting the website and pay for materials, etc.
I just didn't know if there was a fee for the second level as well.
No, so the different levels, so the certification course is the only education course. The others, and maybe I'm going to go to the Orienteering USA website and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. The others are actually applications for recognition. So once you've learned your doctrine, that's basically what this is. Here, let me share this tab instead. I'm going to go to resources and down to coaching. And right up top, you have our National Coaching Certification Program. And so this link takes you to where the certification course is. And then down here, we have the applications. So for somebody who has done the certification course and has been coaching for a year and has gotten their level 1, so I'm not going to pull that one up right now. I'll just start with this one because it'll give you a picture. This is like the national level. So you have to have your safe sport. And so some of the things that we ask you to do, what we consider to be level 2 community activities, design, set, or design and vet an orienteering event or training course. And so you log, when you did that, you log how many hours, complete an appropriate level course for your age group. We expect you to be able to orienteer at your age group. Organize and or participate in delivering a junior training camp. Organize and or participate in delivering a coaching level 1 workshop. And I will add that a number of the people that have participated in this hybrid course are actually joining me at West Point. West Point has contracted to do a level 1 coaching workshop in person. We're going to do that fire hose version over the weekend. And so we have a number that are coming out to help teach that. So that'll be absolutely awesome. Coach at least 1 junior for minimum of a year. Describe the coaching given and to whom. Attach a statement from the athlete describing the help he or she received and their perception of the value that it gave to their results. Upgrade an existing orienteering map or map a new area. Attach a copy of your finished map. Complete any college level coaching course. Include a completion certificate. You get the perspective, right? It is a bunch of, it's further investment in your coaching ability that makes you better at coaching a wide range of people. And then also, there's the complete the certification course. Then there is a requirement that you coach somebody that performs to a certain standard. So top 3 individually in a state, regional, or national orienteering event, orange or higher level courses, or coach 5 or more athletes at a state, regional, or national championship orienteering event who certify at a certain level. And then what have you done to help bring people up to compete successfully at the national level? So that's like what the level 2 version looks like. And so then the reason that we say this this coaching course is a hybrid, it's a 1+, is because those module 2 discussions allow us to have conversations about not just coaching a beginner up to, hey, I can complete an intermediate level course, which is really kind of the focus of that level 1 certification. But it's also, okay, now how do you take somebody who is at that level and bring them to the level they can be successful in national competition? And then for the level 3, we're looking at how do you take somebody who can be successful at an international level of competition. Does that make sense? Cool. What else? So I can take you to the website and show you what the resources look like if you want to see that.
I think that'd be a great idea.
All right. You are now my victims to look at websites. We can do that. Let me share screens again here. Clicked on too many things. Share. That one. Okay. So this is where Module 1 lives on this coaching and education website. So I'm going to log in. The first time that you want to log in here when you're creating a new account, if you go to the OUSA website, and I think, let me go back here, down here where it says follow this link to access the enrollment key, you want to start there. That'll give you the key that allows you to add the courses to your dashboard. But I'll log in and you will see I have everything under the sun on my dashboard because I built all the content on the website. So it's all there. Yours won't look like this to begin with. Along this side, along the dashboard, I have the names of all the courses. So start is just how this whole thing works. And so you should recognize this slide. I used that in our discussion today. We have an assignment here to establish a coach's notebook. And so the instructions are here, basically about how somebody sets up the reflection diary that they're going to keep online as they do their work. We have some links so that you can share your coach's notebook with other people and other people can see what you've done. So that's kind of interesting just to take a look at other people's thoughts. And you can see there are a number of people who've gotten started here, not all of whom have continued, and that's fine. And then things that you need. So you need a copy of the course text. That's Discovering Orienteering, and there's some links on where you can go and get that. Basically, you need a computer that you can watch videos on. We do have everybody do the Safe Sport full course, and so there's some information on how to do that. And then the 3 courses you complete to complete Module 1 are the Orienteering Development Model, the Fundamentals of Physical Training, and the Fundamentals of Technical Training. I told you a lot about Module 2, and Module 3 is doing your coaching session and reflecting on how that went. So let's take a look at, start with the ODM. So this was the course that I developed as part of that grad school class that kind of led to this whole rabbit hole into how do we get the entire coaching course online. Each of these lessons have a video that introduces whatever it is that we're talking about. They have some readings and some links. I am rather fond of this particular, let me see if I can make this bigger. Yeah, this particular diagram, because it crosses the Orienteering Development Model with the fundamentals of technical training, the skills, the techniques, and the processes that we're teaching to people. And it helps you think about where do you start with somebody who's just learning? And where do you go as they continue to build on that and they're more ready to come back and focus on learning some more technical skills. We had a really great discussion. I actually did a session. So I mentioned our orienteer from Israel. We had Jessica Colleran was on that as well. And I really appreciated Jessica looking at this diagram and saying, it's often hard as experienced orienteers to think about how do you talk to somebody looking at this for the first time, because we have all of this stuff in our heads. And sometimes there's just a couple of things we need to tell them to get them out on the course and get them comfortable experiencing it, just enough for it to be a good experience. So they come back and then they're ready to really be like, okay, tell me more. I'm ready to focus on this. And somewhere in here, I guess I didn't give everybody a quiz in that first one. I think the first quiz probably comes down here. So there are a couple of models there are a couple of lessons there that talk about what's going on at the U.S. Olympic Committee level, and then we get into what does this look like at the orienteering level and go through each of the stages of development specifically. There's a quiz, and then I mentioned those discussion forums. This was really cool. As you look here, there are a fair number of entries. And yes, there are a handful of them that have my name on them. I was often the note taker for my group when we did this in a module too, but you can see that a lot of times people did this on their own too. So there's some really good conversation here. And the requirement for the level 1 coaching students is not only that they make a post, but also that they look at what somebody else has posted and they respond to it. So there's some pretty nice discussion going here. So that is ODM is something that people are usually able to finish. Like you could bang through this in a couple of weekends if you wanted to pretty easily without having to just work straight through. You could do a couple of hours each day and you could get through it. The one that is a big lift is this basic orienteering and the fundamentals of technical training. This one is the one that you really need the Discovering Orienteering book for. It's pretty content heavy, but there's some neat stuff in it. Start here with map and compass. You have your reading assignment. So this is what you're reading in Discovering Orienteering. You can see that there's some links to a glossary. So I could go to the glossary and it'll pull that up for me. It's got some links there. All of there are a lot of links. Ooh, wait, you can't see that. Hang on, share that tab. Okay, there's the tab that has the glossary. So I had asked it about contour features and it pulls this up and it gives me links to all these other, I can go look at a reentrant. So here's a reentrant on a map. Here's a photo that has a reentrant in it. And here's the definition. So all of those things exist in the glossary. Let me go back here. For those who've played with Quizlet, there are some links to some Quizlets that will help you learn map symbols and descriptions, some other quizzes that we found online, just things that people had created that are useful resources to have. Some maps are going to look familiar to one of my mappers on this call. This is not far from my house. But then what we included also were videos that are out there about orienteering that are linked specifically to learning about reading a map, understanding a map, orienting a map, or orientating it if you are looking at the British version. You've got an example of a legend here. One of my absolute favorite videos, and I don't know if everybody's seen it, is this one right here. Hang on. There we go.
I was underwater. I just didn't realize I was this underwater.
So I'm going to speed this ahead. You get the idea, though. There are some really wonderful videos out there, and we didn't create these videos, but this course serves as effectively a library that links videos to key topics. So you've got that. And then, a lot of people who may be taking this course may not actually have access to a map. Because that's one of the other advantages of doing a hybrid course like this is that you don't have to be close to an orienteering club to be able to do this. So still sharing on this tab. So we have a link that talks about how do you get a map? What if you have to just make your own map? What resources are out there that you can use quickly that can be good enough for you to be able to train on for the purposes of this course? And there's some links there. So let me go back. We have some examples of maps. Again, some of these are very close to where I live. Fancy that. It's good to be married to a mapper. And so this is in all those various versions. You can see here's what the orienteering map looks like. But then you can also see if you use Open Orienteering Map, what would that look like? So a lot of resources there for somebody who may need a place to get started. So I'm going to flip ahead to some other topics. So techniques is another one that has about a bajillion resources in it. There's a lot on attack points. There's some really great videos. You could spend some serious time just watching YouTube videos. And some of these are made by people we all know well from Orienteering USA. There's some really great ones that the New Zealand coaches put together during COVID. Some pretty interesting stuff out of the adventure racing community and the fell runners in England as well. And so you can see like there you can go down rabbit holes for hours here. And so this is actually a set of resources that I really like to just be able to hand off to people. If you're doing the online coaching course, you may not use every single thing that's here, but it's the idea that you have these resources, you understand what these techniques are, you know how to use them. And then later on, as you're working with people, you might have someone that you're like, hey, I can see this, that you're kind of struggling with this concept. Try this video and see how it goes. See if this is something helpful. And then the other thing that we have for Module 1 is the fundamentals of physical training, basic fitness things that all coaches need to know: cardiovascular, skeletal, muscular, senses. Aaron Sherm put those together for us. So some really great videos there. I did the lesson on holistic fitness, and then there's a unit quiz at the end. So all of those make up Module 1. And then it's Module 2 that brings us together for those discussions. So we start out with what is a coach and who are our athletes. We have a discussion board. Normally what we do is we convene, we do some intros, and then I kick everybody out into breakout rooms to have this conversation. And they post their answers to the discussion board. And then once again, you can go back and read what everybody else said. And there's some really great conversations here. Then we pull those athlete profiles that I talked about. So those were actually built on, I put a question out on Attack Point and said, hey, can people come in and help answer this Google form and help me create these fictional profiles so that we have some real orienteers to talk about that, you know, don't necessarily have names that we all recognize. And so when our coaches get here, they go into Google Drive and they have this folder full of these profiles that we've created, and they vary across age groups and disciplines. So, you know, here's somebody who does Trailo, for example, and their answers to a variety of questions. One of my favorites: describe your worst ever orienteering experience. What made it that way? So you get some really good information here. But you also have down here at the bottom, you get a data table, because one of the things we talk about in the coaching course is how do you use data to help understand your athlete. And so I've got, you know, a variety of those profiles, and you have some ranking data here. And then we can go through and take a look at, what does this tell us? What does this mean? How can we use this? Oh, you can't see any of this. Let me change to that. Okay. Sorry about that. I keep forgetting I have to share the correct tab. But yeah, there's a data table that gives information about these notional orienteers so you can analyze it. All right, I'm going to go back to this one, share this tab, and back to, yeah, so that's where we start with week 1. And then we go into workshop mode. So basically we mute our cameras and our microphones, and we spend about 30 minutes assessing our athletes according to the Orienteering development model, really understanding what we can get out of both their questionnaire and out of the data profile. And then we all come back together and we share out. And that's those discussions I was talking about. It's a really dynamic process. It's great to have experienced coaches in there as well, because they have good ideas, they ask good questions of each other. And so the 4 sessions during module 2, and that's the piece that we're doing over the winter, that is a really useful conversation that happens there. And this is the one that makes it most flexible, because you could start with, I'm just doing my first certification, I've never really coached anybody. Okay, let's talk about coaching a beginner. Versus somebody who might come in and go, hey, I've been doing a lot of coaching, I just want to get my OUSA certification, so now I'm on the same page as everybody else. Great, bring in your athletes that you're coaching, and we'll meet you where you're at, and have that conversation. And you can do that all together simultaneously, which is really great. And then module 3 is really just you're planning a training session, you're going out and you're conducting it. Because obviously we don't have a coaching instructor to observe you if you're doing the hybrid version. You get to send in some artifacts, pictures, videos, the maps that you used, and also your kind of written reflection or your conversation with your coaching instructor about how the whole thing went, what was good, what could you do better, what would you do differently next time. So yeah, that's what's on the portal for the coaching side. And then I guess the other thing that's on here that maybe I'll highlight is for anybody who works with Boy Scouts of America, now known as Scouting America, we do have some merit badge resources, and they are tied to the requirements in the book. And they tell you, it ties some of this information that we have here curated for fundamentals of technical training into the BSA merit badge format. So if you ever find yourself delivering this merit badge or working with somebody who does it, there are some resources here that you can gain access to. And if you have trouble tracking it down, just drop me an email and I'll get you connected. So yeah, what else can I talk about?
You mentioned the West Point thing that's coming up soon. Do you think there's going to be any other in-person opportunities for people to get some, live discussion in aside from the virtual meetings?
So I am incredibly hopeful. We haven't had an in-person coaching certification. I think Bob and Chuck might have done one maybe for Georgia or Florida in... Gord, help me out. I feel like there's been something your way fairly recently, but not super recent. Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Adalias. What I'm hopeful about is because we have so many people coming into the West Point one that are now working their way through the coaching process, that we're going to have more people capable of delivering. And kind of one of our asks has, that was a passion project funded event. One of our asks is that for those who are coming in, we're asking them to go out and then do some coaching certification or hold some clinics. Yeah, the West Point one kind of sprung up as a surprise. So they usually do a winter weekend training, and John and I usually go out to help. For those who don't know, John and I are both West Point grads. He was an orienteer as a cadet. I was not. I sang in the Glee Club. But when we were back as faculty, we coached the team there. And since we live in Boston right now, we retain pretty close ties. So usually we're on tap to go out and help with that. And it just... they were originally going to work with, they had a variety of possibilities, and it just over the holiday break suddenly became hey, this is what we want to do. So yeah, I know that came completely out of nowhere, but yeah. Cool. What else?
What's the date on the West Point event?
31st to the 2nd. And I think we have completely filled that because their team is big, and I'm hesitant to bring any more people into the room because I think we're about ready to exceed its capacity. So we have a bunch of the level 2 coaches coming in, so they're going to get their teaching certs, so they can go out and independently deliver coaching certification courses. And then we have a bunch of people who are doing YDP coaching regionally. So we've got somebody out of Florida, someone out of Georgia, we have someone out of New Jersey, Boston, Cascade, so Seattle, and Colorado. So yeah, good group there. Oh, and another out of upstate New York as well. Cool. What else?
Well, Tori, I think that was very, very thorough.
That's something I'm often accused of.
Well, I mean, what happens is if you're really thorough and then you ask for questions and you've covered everything, it sounds like, well, nobody's paying attention, but actually, I think you covered things very well. So, are there any other questions? Come on, guys. If you have any questions, speak up.
I'm curious. Do you think this development cycle of OUSA coaching programs is done? Like, it's going to stay in more or less this form for several years now, or is there something you want to add to what exists right now?
There may be appetite out there for going back and relooking it. It would take a group of volunteers who were ready to take that on and go into it in detail. Because I don't think I can take anything big like that on myself right now. But I mean, kind of my philosophy on everything is that where there's a group of people that feel like they want to make something happen, we should figure out how to enable that.
Okay, nothing currently planned though.
No, I mean, I think we just keep reassessing, is this meeting our needs? And I'm really hopeful that by, kind of this big boost to our capacity. So that was, my pitch to the OUSA board was why I thought it was important to get as many of, this last minute thing, get as many of our level 2 coaches out to West Point to take part in this in-person. Like, we've done this so rarely and we really need to grow this capacity, and this is the perfect time. And I'm so grateful that so many are able to come. So I'm hopeful that kind of gives us a boost and also gives us capacity that is better spread out across the country, because I also feel like we're kind of concentrated in a few places right now.
One thing I'd like to mention is that this program came out of what we call the passion projects, and OUSA now has a process that if you have some orienteering passion that you want to promote, like you want to produce a map for a club, or you want to start something at a school and you need some help, you can submit this as a proposal, and it will go before the board, and then there's a chance that it will get funding and that resources will be there to help you. So I think we probably have a pretty enthusiastic group on this forum. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that. And I think I just put the link in the chat to the form if you want to take a look at it. It has kind of the description of what it's about and some examples of things that we thought that would be like, this is the type of thing we're looking for. So if you're excited about something, we want to make it happen, because that's how stuff happens in like this almost entirely volunteer organization we have. Good plug, Joseph. Well done. All right. Are we all ready to call it a night? I think so. I think you've done a great job. And I want to thank everyone who's been here and remind you that if you missed part of it, or if there's other forums that you missed that you want to get a chance to look at, that they're all on YouTube on the OUSA channel. So thank you again, Tori. Awesome. Thanks for being here.